Goal for Germany! 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 That sound. It wasn't just commentary. It felt like knives.
Slow, cold, ruthless. Each call sliced deeper and deeper into the pride of an entire nation. Not loud, not chaotic, just steady, merciless. And every time it echoed, millions of Brazilian hearts tightened, their throats locked up, as if they were being forced to relive a nightmare, over and over again. July 8th, 2014. Belo Horizonte. Brazil lost 1-7 to Germany. But if all you see is that scoreline, you'll never truly understand what happened that day. Because this wasn't just a defeat, it was a collapse, a tragedy, a moment where football broke out of the boundaries of sport and turned into something much heavier. A story about belief being crushed right in front of the entire world. Brazil has never been just another national team. They are the soul of football. A place where the ball doesn't simply roll across the grass, it lives in every breath, every heartbeat. From Pelé to Ronaldo Nazario, from Ronaldinho to the generations that followed, Brazil didn't just produce legends. They shaped how the world understands football. Beautiful, creative, emotional. In Brazil, kids grow up with the ball as if it were part of their body. Narrow alleys, dusty streets, those aren't limitations, they're stages. And the World Cup? It's not a distant dream. It's almost a destiny. And in 2014, with the tournament held on home soil, everything was supposed to come full circle. This was meant to be the moment Brazil reminded the world who they were. A perfect stage to write another golden chapter in a story that had already lasted generations. But behind all that hope, there was a truth people didn't want to face. Brazil in 2014 was no longer Brazil of the geniuses. They didn't have those players who could change a game in a single flash of brilliance. They didn't have that overwhelming depth of talent anymore. Names like Fred, Hulk, Bernard. They didn't inspire confidence. They didn't make opponents fear them the moment they stepped onto the pitch. If anything, they made their own fans nervous. And so, everything, the hopes, the dreams, the belief, was placed on one man, Neymar. He wasn't just the best player, he was the light, the belief, the last reason Brazil felt they could still dream. And then, the moment came. Minute 86, quarterfinal against Colombia. A moment that didn't look special at first, but changed everything. Juan Zuniga's knee. Neymar went down. Not the kind of fall you shake off and get back up from. He stayed there, in pain, helpless, tears streaming down his face. And when he was carried off the pitch, Brazil fell silent. The diagnosis came later like a sentence. A fractured vertebra. In that moment, Brazil didn't just lose their best player. They lost their soul. They lost the very thing that made them feel special. The days leading up to the semi-final weren't about tactics anymore. No real preparation, no deep analysis of Germany. Everything revolved around Neymar. Shirts with his name, prayers, tears. People talked about pain, about what could have been. But no one talked about how to face Germany. And that revealed a brutal truth. Without Neymar, Brazil didn't even know who they were. On the other side stood Germany, a team built on the exact opposite principles. If Brazil was emotion, Germany was logic. If Brazil believed in moments, Germany believed in systems. Under Joachim Löw, they didn't play football based on feeling. They operated like a machine. Every pass had a purpose. Every movement was calculated. Nothing extra, nothing missing, nothing emotional. They reached the semi-final playing exactly like that, destroying Portugal, grinding out a tough draw against Ghana, beating the United States, surviving Algeria in extra time, eliminating France with cold precision. Not always beautiful, but always effective. Not always easy, but always under control. And then, those two worlds collided. Minute 11. Thomas Müller. 0-1. Nothing spectacular, a simple set piece, a clean finish. But it was the first crack. And once the crack appeared, everything began to fall apart. Minute 23. Miroslav Klose. 0-2. A record broken. And at the same time, Brazil began to lose control. You could see it in their eyes. Confusion, fear, disorientation. And then, the nightmare truly began. Minute 24, Toni Kroos, 0-3. Minute 26, Kroos again, 0-4. Minute 29, Sami Khedira, 0-5. Less than 30 minutes, 5 goals. This wasn't football anymore, this was a breakdown. Brazil weren't playing, they were reacting, running on instinct, passing without direction, defending in panic. No structure, no belief, only desperation. Meanwhile, Germany didn't need to do anything special.
They just kept doing what they always did.
They played correctly. And that correctness destroyed Brazil in the most ruthless way possible. In the stands, tears came early. Not at full time, not at the final whistle, but at 0-3, then 0-4. People held their heads. People cried. Children didn't understand what was happening. Adults couldn't believe their eyes. Some even laughed. But it was the kind of laughter born from despair, the kind you give when reality becomes too overwhelming to process. Halftime, 0-5. The match was already over, but the pain wasn't. In the dressing room, something remarkable happened. Joachim Löw told his players to stay respectful. No mocking, no arrogance. He reminded them of 2006, when they themselves had fallen at home. He reminded them that Brazil had welcomed them with respect, and they had to return that respect. But ironically, that respect made everything hurt even more. Because even without trying to humiliate Brazil, Germany still did it so perfectly. The second half continued like a nightmare no one could wake up from. Minute 69. Andre Schürrle, 0-6. Minute 79. It's Schürrle again, 0-7. At that point, the goals didn't shock anyone anymore. They were just reminders that it still wasn't over, the nightmares still going on. Minute 90. Oscar, 1-7. A consolation goal, but no one celebrated, no one felt anything anymore. When the final whistle blew, the stadium fell into silence. No boos, no anger, just emptiness. A heavy silence so thick it felt like it was pressing down on every single person there. An old man held a replica World Cup trophy and cried. His name was Clovis Acosta Fernandes. That image became a symbol of pain, not because Brazil lost, but because of how they lost, a way that couldn't be accepted, couldn't be explained, and couldn't be forgotten. After the match, Germany went on to win the World Cup, defeating Argentina with Mario Götze's goal. But that's not what the world remembers. What people remember are those 30 minutes in Belo Horizonte. 30 minutes that changed how people see football. A strange paradox followed. Brazilian fans, despite everything, found themselves supporting Germany in the final. They were moved by how Germany played, by how they carried themselves, by how they respected their opponent, even in the most dominant victory imaginable. But that didn't erase the wound, because some defeats don't live on the scoreboard. They live in memory. And every time you hear those words again, "Goal for Germany!" you don't just remember a match, you remember the helplessness. You remember the moment when an entire nation could do nothing but stand there and watch their dream fall apart. And you realize something. Football, no matter how beautiful it can also be unbelievably cruel. That day wasn't just a semi-final. It was the day the soul of Joga Bonito was crushed.